Hi, I'm Mark Hoth and welcome to Swift Almanac. Happy New Year and welcome back to the channel. It's been oppressively hot here in Australia and in particular in my film bedroom, so there has been a shortage of uploads, but you can expect some super exciting things to happen over the next few weeks. Firstly, we need to finish off our channel app and then post that to the App Store. So close, but it should be there by the end of the week. So you'll get heaps of useful information out of this and the final tutorial for this session. Secondly, I now have two screens, so the presentation format is a little different. Let me know if you prefer this format, and in addition, I'm updating the website and social media so the tutorials will be easier to find. So it's been a while, but I think we're up to notifications in our app. I've just finished the app completely, and there were some admin functions that I've added, and so we've set up the membership restrictions, and we'll jump about in this tutorial, so watch closely. Here we go. Okay, so we're back again, and we're going to implement notifications. We're going to do this in three phases. The first phase is putting in our notification client software. The second phase is building the administration features, which allows us to send the notification, and then the third phase is testing it to make sure it's actually working. So for that, we're going to need at least two devices, and APNS registration does not work in the simulator, so you need to use devices to actually make this work. So let's have a look at what we've done. You need to look at our UN user notifications client tutorial, because I'm just basically copying and pasting the code from what I did there just before Christmas and making a few modifications. So let's have a look. In our app delegate, what we need to do is we need to add this notifications code. So what we want to do is we need to request authorization, which is what's bringing up the alert when the application is first run, saying, do you want to receive applications? Do you want to receive notifications for this application? And you can see here, add code here, not to send notifications of the type not granted. So I just haven't done that. I'm assuming that you are all going to want to be notified by alert and sound, but you can always turn that off in settings. And we want to also register for remote notifications so that we can get notifications from other devices. That is, when I add an administration notification, you will get notified by the APNS server. And then we do this cleaning up where we remove all the delivered notifications so they're no longer queued. And then we need to set up a delegate. So we have our notification center and we set up the delegate. Now you can see that there's no delegate up here because we have created it here in the extensions. So we've got an extension where all our notifications are. We have this UN user notification center delegate, and what we need to do is we need to have did register for remote notifications with device token. This is what returns our device token, which is what you would have seen in the notifications tutorial. And as I mentioned there, we need to save that information. So I have saved that. Well, firstly, what I did under my user data is I've added this device token string and initialized it to empty. And back in our app delegate, we've received the device token here. We need to format it correctly, and we save that to this method set device token string, and then we save that to our Firebase database. We save the current user as soon as we've got the device token string, and that means that in Firebase, we go to Firebase. If we go to our Firebase database, under our users, we've got an empty device token string. I haven't saved it yet, so okay, we'll get back to that. It will be saved. So the next thing we need to do is we need to worry about if we actually failed for remote notifications, we'll get an error. And at the moment, we're just printing that error out. There's really not a lot you can do if the APNS server is down, apart from send an alert to the user. Then we've got this did receive remote notification, in which case what we want to do is we get sent this dictionary basically, and we want to pass the dictionary and display the alert, which is we're going to get an incoming message. This is what the message is, which is passed to us from the APNS server, and we set it as an alert. We've got the alert style, it all comes up and everyone's happy. We don't need to worry about navigation code because we're not doing that particular feature. And if it's a local notification and our app is in the foreground, well, we just want to call our completion handler and pass it the alert and the sound and a little dialog pile. So that's almost everything you need to do and everything I told you to do in the notification tutorial. However, there's one thing that I missed in the client notification tutorial, and that is this line here in the app delegate, application will resign active. You need to reset the badge number icon so that once your apps come to the front, when you close the app again and you're looking at all the little icons, the little number has been set back to 0, so the little number disappears. And you'll know you'll know that well, you know, if you've seen emails and things like that, it might say 1023 or whatever. Our number is probably not going to get particularly high, probably no greater than 10, but it'll basically reset once the application's been brought to the front. You've had an opportunity to read the notifications. You can do a lot more complex things, such as just decrement that number by 1 if the item has been clicked on or read, that kind of thing. But we just want to basically get rid of it. If you've opened the app, you'll have seen the notifications or had the chance to, and we're resetting the user interface by adding that line. Okay, so that's basically how we set up to receive notifications. Now we need to send notifications. Now I'm just going to run the app. Okay, so I've got 2 iPhones. I've got my iPhone 8, which is my my current working phone, and I've got an iPhone 6, which is my old phone for when this one dies or whatever happens. I've actually had 2 scares with this iPhone 8. So the iPhone 6 is on the screen here, and it's just running as a QuickTime movie. So everything I do on the iPhone 6 turns up on the screen, and this is what you'll see as a user of the app. It's got our information, it's got our training course, it's got our source code, which is of course taken from GitHub, and you can see I've added a search bar there, so you can do a search for, I don't know, something beginning with C, and only login 7 will come up. And basically the way it works is if you're looking for some source code, then you type in the GitHub URL. You don't have plus, you just add the login -7, and that gives you the URL so that you can open up the source code off GitHub. And now that I've done that, I do have a minor bug where I can't get rid of the screen, so I will have to close down the app. And launch it again. And then we have our projects, which is listing the projects we're doing, and our messages, which is coming soon. Anyway, so this is our app, and then on my real phone, when I log in, the exact same app, you can't see it, I'll show a bit later, but there's a little plus sign up here because I'm an administrator, and so I can add items, and I'm just going to add, what is today? Today's the 15th of January, so on the 17th of January, in 2 days' time, I'm going to release the App Store tutorial. So 17th of January 2018, and it's going to be headed YouTube App Store tutorial, and I haven't actually uploaded it yet, so I just have to put in a fake YouTube ID, so the link won't work currently, and how to add stuff to App Store. And then I've got a members or a non-members section, so this one's going to be publicly available, and then all I need to do is add that, and when I add it, that add process is going to send a notification, and there you go. We have got our YouTube App Store tutorial being sent to the iPhone 6. So how do we do that? Let's have a look. I'll close down QuickTime. Okay, now, so what I have done is, if we look at Firebase, you can see here that, well, you can't really tell it between these two accounts, but this one is me, and this user ID is my user ID, and every time I log in, I get this unique user ID. And so what I've done is I've created an admin flag, and every time I log in, there's some code that simply says if the user ID is the saved admin user ID, which is me, then set the admin flag to true, and if currently I'm false, then set me to true, and then save that so that I'll always be able to log in as an administrator. And the administrator function allows me to, well, let's have a look. We'll look in the iPhone 8. Basically, it gives me a little plus sign in the top left-hand corner, so I can add information or training sessions, and when I do so, that's going to create notifications to you, the end user. So let's have a look. Okay, so this is default logged in as me, and you can see there's this plus sign up here in the menu bar, and when we click on that, it gives this very very quick and nasty interface that just allows me to type in some text fields, and gives me the ability to do live sessions, to notify you for tutorials, and to notify you for different just general announcements. And you can cancel, and of course when you hit plus to add the item, that's the function that is calling the ability to send the remote notifications. So let's have a quick look. What have we done on the main information screen? So if we look at our info collection view controller at the very top in our view do load, we've said if we are the admin, then we're going to add this additional button with this add info item, and we add it on the left hand side. That's all we do, and then we have this simple add info item target, which basically creates this add info view controller, encapsulates it in a navigation controller, and presents that navigation controller. So then we've got this add info view controller, which just has a series of user interface items. They're just hard coded because I'm always going to be using my trusty iPhone 8, so I don't need to worry about different sizes and all the like. Basically sets some values, adds all the subviews, and then we have a cancel action which just calls dismiss and pushes the nav controller back to the info item. And then we have the add info item where we save the new information to Firebase. We then reload information from the database, so we get a complete copy of all of the information items. And then we have this call to my Firebase send user notifications. Now the reason we've put this over at my Firebase is we have saved all of the device tokens required for remote notification to the Firebase database. So we'll go to our Firebase file and down at the bottom, whereabouts is it? There it is, send user notifications. So we're sending the message which was entered in on the user display and the members, and that's whether or not we're sending it to someone who's a paid member or if we're sending it to someone who's everyone. And we just do what we normally do. We are getting a list of all of the users that are have signed up for the app, and those users will either be members or not members. And so basically for each item that we get back, if we have no users, then hopefully some of you will sign up pretty quickly. Even if you don't pay for it, the app's free, and you still get notifications. This shouldn't happen too often, but then for every item in our list of items that have come back, we take out the device token string, and we get the member value, so we figure out whether or not people are members or not. And then if the device token string is not empty, then if it's a member, if members or member is less than the silver raw value, then that is if we're sending it only to members and members are less than our silver raw value, that is they're not members at all, they're not paid up members, then we do nothing, we don't send the text, and otherwise we just call let notification equals notify device token string and message, and that's in our notifications file, and then we call so this is basically an initializer. An initializer initializes a notification message for us, and then we just once we've created the notification, then we just send it. So if we go to our notifications, here's our object, and here's our send method, here's our initializer. It's pretty straightforward, and we just call LMO fire request. It gets sent off, and you can see here we've got our whether or not we're a production environment, our production URL or our sandbox URL. And you may recall on our Heroku server, we've got both a production and a sandbox APNS server, so we can do some testing as well as live work. And one thing we'll need to do in the next lesson is when we go to our constants, somewhere in here, potentially, yes, there's a fixed notification, and we've got let production boolean equal false, and we need to say whether or not, well, when it goes into production, it's going to be true. So we need to make sure that we set that to true. So that's basically how we set notifications and how I've sent up the administration functions. The other thing I'd like to quickly show you is in the source code. So in the source table view controller, you can see I've created this search bar. Do that still up. But I'm not actually configured as a member on this thing, so that's okay. So basically what the search bar does is, I did search bars in the collection view, and it works exactly the same for a table view. But here in the header section, you can see what I've done is if you're a member, because you need to be a member to access the list of searchable source code. So if you're a member, it gives you the URL that you need to use, and if you're a non-member, it just tells you to that this is members only and you need to subscribe. We set up some basic things with the header text label and whether or not the background color is orange if you're a member and red if you're not a member. And then there's this if you've got access and if you are searching. So if you're searching, we have a where is it? We've got our, under GitHub, in our data here, we have two different types. We've got our source names and we've got our filtered source names. And those are filtered by a sort function that we have here, or filter function that we have here, which removes everything. And based on what text we use, it looks at the description, which we've obtained from GitHub, and sorts those into alphabetical order. So if we just quickly go over to GitHub so you understand what I have done and how I've done it. Okay, so when you click on code, you can see here there's a description. It says login Firebase Facebook, and those description items are what we have loaded. We go to my GitHub and look at get repositories. We get the name of the repository, which is what's displayed in the list, and we get the description of the repository as well. And so when we are doing our filtering search, we're looking at the description and we're trying to find the text that's been edited into the search area. So if I typed Firebase, for instance, if I was displaying it up here, then we would be, typed FI, it would just show that those descriptions. And what I need to do as part of my administration process is I need to go through all of the source code and add, the description keywords, so that when you type in, search or tab bar controller or something like that, only the source code with tab bar controller or the appropriate source is going to be displayed. Okay, so I think that is pretty much all of the changes that I made. So, well, there was one other thing. We were calling UI application shared.open, and Apple in 2017 changed that. They want you to be calling this SF Safari View Control Delegate, because that allows the user interface to check that certificates are being used and it's a right website and all of these kind of things. So previously, I'm just trying to find where I have called it. Yes, we've got a URL here. It's Apollo client. We don't need to worry about that. Oh, here it is here. So when we're doing our login, we're calling the Safari View Controller. We set it up as a delegate, and then we do a present of that. And to comply with the Safari View Controller delegate, we can also have this Safari View Controller did finish. And so when people press the done button, then the controller is automatically closed and dismissed, so it doesn't stay amongst the open applications on the phone. Of course, that doesn't affect our second part of the GitHub process, because that's being done by LMO5 and it doesn't bring up a user interface. It's all done in the background. So yes, that's it for the app, which is now completed, or completed for version 1. So let's try and lodge it in the App Store and see what happens. So I may have missed a few things, but the app is finished. Now let's try and load it onto the App Store and see what happens. Don't forget to click like, and in any event, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any awesome future tutorials. Look forward to seeing you soon. Cheers.